Hyundai Santa Fe has come a long way from the times when it was a budget brand SUV pick. These days, this model is the flagship of the Hyundai range, offering 7 seats and European brand standards of technology and quality. This improved version of the 4th generation model ditches diesel in favour of electrified power plants, and it might well surprise you.
The Santa Fe was once a mid-sized SUV, but with every evolution it's got a bit bigger, and it certainly feels that way behind the wheel of this one. Traditionally, the bigger the SUV, the more you expect it to deliver the familiar rumble of a diesel engine beneath the bonnet. Not here though. The Korean maker wants to persuade you that a petrol hybrid powertrain is, going forward, a better solution, specifically a 1.6 litre sized one. There are 2 options available in this case: a full hybrid self-charging HEV model, which is the one we have here, or if you want a full dose of electrification, there's also the option of a pricier plug-in PHEV variant. There are certainly disadvantages to using a petrol engine this small in capacity. Towing capability for one thing, which is rated at a modest 1,650 kilos for the HEV hybrid variant and just 1,350 for the alternative plug-in model. But otherwise, the Smart Stream power plant acquits itself quite well here. It's mated to a 6-speed automatic gearbox, and it's available with a choice of either front-driven or 4x4 powertrains. There are certainly advantages in choosing the PHEV model. Gets a gutsier 91 PS electric motor than the one used in this HEV version, and of course there's a larger drive battery, 13.8 kilowatt hours in size, which gives you a surprisingly achievable 36-mile all-electric driving range before the 1.6 litre T-GDi engine rather vocally cuts in. But there's a big price premium to pay for plug-in tech, so Hyundai expects the majority of Santa Fe customers to settle for the self-charging HEV version of this car, although its feebler 60 PS electric motor rarely powers this SUV for very long. You do at least get near diesel levels of efficiency though. This HEV four-wheel drive variant is officially WLTP rated at 40.4 mpg on the combined cycle and 159 grams per kilometre of CO2. For the four-wheel drive plug-in model, the figures are 173.7 mpg and 37 grams per kilometre. Over 4 generations, the Santa Fe has typified an impressive evolution in Hyundai design. In its first generation, it was rather strange and typically Asian. The Mark II model was functional, and the Mark III design was quite smart. The original version of this Mark IV Santa Fe had more of an imposing look, and this evolved electrified model could actually be described as quite stylish. It's also a bit bigger than the original version of this 4th generation TM series design, although the differences are relatively slight, length having been increased by 15mm and height by 7mm. As for styling changes, well, most of those have been made at the front. There's a much bigger 3D mesh patterned grille that flows into larger LED headlamps, which have separate narrow daytime running light strips above and slim angled corner cutouts below, plus lower silver skid plate trim now encompasses the entire lower grille section. The rear is less eye-catching but equally confidently executed. The main change being the addition of this full-width light strip, which emphasises the model's 10mm increase in width and links the LED lamp clusters. Time to take a seat at the wheel. The door opens wide to ease entry. And once you're inside, you'll find that Hyundai has, to a great extent, achieved the ambience of luxury design that the original version of the Mark IV model tilted at, but never quite delivered. The centre console has been raised, which gives far more of a cocooned aircraft cockpit style feel, and on it, gear shift buttons replace the previous traditional selector stick. The central infotainment screen at the top of the centre stack here is far larger. It's now 10.25 inches with a panoramic style feel. And if you opt for this top spec variant to suit the current segment vogue, you get a big 12.3-inch virtual instrument cluster screen to replace the traditional analogue gauges. There's a properly commanding high-set SUV seating position from which you survey cabin quality, which has taken a noticeable step forward. And there's loads of storage space here and pretty decent all-round visibility for an SUV of this size too. Access to the middle row seating is good. Again, the doors open widely, and that makes it easy for parents to lean in and attach things like child seats and booster cushions. Once you get comfortable in the second row, there's a slightly greater feeling of space than was the case with the previous version of this model. That's not an illusion either. Hyundai says that the legroom in this part of the car has been increased by 34mm as part of the changes made here, although the actual amount of space that you get will depend, of course, on the way that you position this sliding seat base, which can be moved backwards and forwards across the 300mm range. Okay, time to check out the third row. Once you're in, there is, as advertised, more room than you usually get in the rearmost pews of a typical D-segment 7-seat SUV, and that's thanks to the extra body length that we referred to earlier on. It's freed up just enough room to more comfortably accommodate the couple of full-sized adults who would have been significantly more cramped in the previous generation versions of this car. Of course, with those rearmost seats in place, there won't be much room for luggage, but then that is true of any 7-seater which isn't directly based on a van. Lift the powered tailgate and you'll find that with all 3 rows in place, you'll only have enough space for a few shopping bags. Most of the time you're probably going to be using your Santa Fe, though, with these third row chairs folded into the floor, which frees up a total of 634 litres of space. Completely flatten the central bench and 1,625 litres of fresh air can be freed up. That's much the same as before. The 4th generation Hyundai Santa Fe has improved significantly in this electrified form. Its predecessor was a convincing contender, which now looks like a great used buy, but this car has added an extra layer of polish. There are a few issues, of course. If you habitually tow heavy loads, then this car's new era hybrid powertrains won't suit you at all. Other rivals are also better either on or off-road, and the identically engineered Kia Sorento can be slightly cheaper. For all that, we can see a definite appeal here for someone who wants the space of a large SUV but needs to stay somewhere near the price bracket of a mid-sized model. If you've got a growing family, you have room in your life for just a single car, and you need one that's stylish, practical, reflects the current trend for electrification, and will discreetly go the distance without a hiccup, then it's well worth trying one of these. Do that, and who knows, you might once again start to believe in Santa.